Today on Pots and Trowels we're having a look around a garden and at some fantastic hostas, and that's brought to you with the support of Cobra Garden and Allett. Hello and welcome to Pots and Trowels. Well, today we're having a look around a garden. We're in the garden of Ruella Cottage, which belongs to John and Daphne Plant, and this is a garden that they've created and lovingly tended for the last 25 years. And we're going to find John in a little while just to find out a little bit more about it, but it is an amazing garden. I gather it started life just as a paddock. John has designed it and done all the work in it, and one of the great things about the garden, with all these amazing trees and shrubs and perennials that he's collected over the last 25 years, is a fantastic collection of hostas. And I've never seen so many amazing hostas either growing in the ground or in containers dotted throughout this garden. So what we're going to do is just have a wander around, catch up with John and show you a little bit more of the garden here. One of the things I really like about the garden here are the plant combinations. There are so many interesting plants, and just this area here, which is quite small, has got some interesting plants in it. We've got this dwarf pine, which is obviously evergreen and going to look good all year round. It's just starting to develop some cones on there, and we've got this lovely Acer. This is probably quite a few years old. This is Acer palmatum, and one of the dissect forms with these really dark red leaves, and then a nice big clump of hostas there, big bold vibrant leaves on there. And then to give it some height and a different texture, we've got this, the tree fern, Dicksonia antarctica, and this group of plants here work really well together and just give the garden colour and interest all year round. Ah, found you with the hostas, John. So I suppose it's a never-ending job, isn't it, tending all your hostas in pots?
Yeah, it's not a 5-minute job.
No.
You just got to keep looking after them with the weeding and the watering,
yes,
particularly with the pots.
Yes.
Something like 300 varieties and probably 15 or 20 of each variety, so it's a lot of pots to water.
It's an awful lot of pots, and they all look so healthy as well.
They are. They're good, healthy plants,
yes,
which is lovely this time of year.
And what's nice to see, I've had a wander around the garden. I mean, the garden is amazing. I've been before, because when you came here, was it 25 years ago? It wasn't a garden, was it?
No, it was a paddock, just a bit of green grass with weeds somewhere up there. So we cleared it, and we actually dug the garden right from front to back, and then we got the design. Obviously I looked at it and knew exactly what I wanted, and I started working on it, and 2.5, 3 years later we were done. And we've changed it on a regular basis. Which
is what gardens do, they evolve, don't they, and change.
It's never finished.
Yeah.
It's always evolving, yes.
But there's some really heavy work in there, because you've excavated to get that walkway and all the stonework. You've done all of that.
Yes, absolutely. I love stonework.
Yeah. Can I book you?
Oh, sorry, I'm retired.
Well, it looks amazing. But you've got some really interesting plants. Whichever corner you turn, there's some fantastic plants. You've obviously got an eye for plants.
Yeah, I enjoy plants, and I got nagged a little bit because I wouldn't put anything in the garden that was ordinary. So it had to be a little bit different, and it had to offer me 2 or 3 elements. So whether that was bark or leaf or autumn colour or berry or whatever it was, it had to give me at least 2, possibly more.
Right.
So everything in the garden will give me at least that.
Well, that's a good thing for people to follow, isn't it? Because then it means you've got colour and interest all year round in the garden then.
Yeah, it's not just a one-off.
No, exactly. So how did the hostas come along? Was this...
It was basically the open days for the National Garden Scheme. People came in and bought plants, and hostas became more and more popular, so I got more and more varieties to give them more and more choice. I think maybe I've got too many now. I've got over 300 per sale, different varieties.
Yeah.
It's a job to keep up with them.
Yes.
But I keep adding to them.
Oh, absolutely. I love it where you've got them in the garden, growing in the garden, but also in pots. It just gives people ideas, that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's necessary. When you see a plant for sale, you want to see it where it grows naturally.
Well, the whole garden looks amazing, really does. And if you could wander around it every day and something different to see,
It's nice. I wander around it every day.
I bet you do,
It's
yeah.
lovely.
Well, you're lucky too.
I don't get much chance to enjoy it.
No. And you are open for groups, aren't you? You have groups
I'm
visit.
open for groups from gardening clubs, youth 3As, and any society with a group of 10 or more people are welcome to go on the website and book a date that suits them and suits us.
And now I'm going to ask you one question more, and it's probably the question that you're asked more than any other question, and I bet you know what it is. So how do you cope with slugs and snails when you've got thousands of hostas?
Well, as you can see, a lot of them are on benches, so that helps an awful lot. It's but I think it's healthy plants. To a degree, if you've got slug resistant plants, they are resistant. They're not completely infallible, but it does help a little bit. Give them something alternative. The plants in the garden are planted in the ground. If I see a slug infestation somewhere, I give them loads of lettuces to eat. So it gives them something simple to go at. You know, we have lots of trees in the garden, as you've seen. So we've got lots of birds, predators, such as the blackbirds, they love them, and the robins and so on. And we've got the wildlife pond with frogs and toads and newts, and we've got gravel and bark and hard surfaces that they don't like to travel across. So we're giving them as much.
Well, it works because I've seen very, very little damage on them. You talked about resistant ones. Some hostas are less prone, aren't they, to damage? Are they the thick-leaved ones?
As a rule, in general, the thicker the leaf, the bigger the vein, the tougher the eaters, if you like. And snails are lazy eaters. So if you give them an alternative to eat that's easier to eat, and that could be your thin-leaved hostas. But if you can give them something else, you know.
Good tip. Thank you very much. It's been amazing. I'm going to have another wander around.
Thank you for coming.
And I'm going to let you carry on tending your thousands and thousands of hostas.
Yeah, there's only one or two to weed.
Okay. All right, John. That's great. Thanks a lot.
Bye then.
There are paths all around the garden. You can wander around lots of different places, and this is an interesting area because there are 3 paths that all meet here in this circle where the ground's been excavated and the stone walls have been built around it, and you really feel that you're enclosed by the trees and shrubs. We've got evergreens, rhododendrons, all sorts of interesting plants here, and ferns and hostas to make it feel very green and woodlandy. And one of the plants that is amazing at the moment is just above me. This is one of the dogwoods, the Cornus cusa, and it's absolutely full of its white bracts at the moment, and it makes you feel when you're down here looking up that you're in a woodland glade looking up through the trees. It's really, really peaceful and enjoyable. One of the things I really like about the garden here is that it's made maximum use of the space. There's not an inch wasted. It's got lots of planting, lots of lovely mature trees, lots of permanent plants and shrubs, lots of evergreens. So even in the middle of winter, there's going to be masses of colour and interest here. And of course, water features. In a garden of this size, you can get away with a fairly big pond. And as we can see here, we've got this wonderful waterfall cascading down into a pond that meanders underneath the bridge. And it just gives that lovely sound of running water. So wherever you are in the garden, you can hear this water. I think it's just absolutely magical. And it must be wonderful to wander around the garden late at night when it's getting dark. So I'll have a little wander around and find some more plants. Whichever corner you turn, there's lots of interesting features, and this is another really interesting little bed. It makes you feel that you're in the Mediterranean on a Greek island, because we've got here this lovely old gnarled olive tree here that looks like it's been there hundreds of years, and we've got lavender and nepeta all around the base of it, and it even gives that bit of authenticity there. We've got a ladder there to make it look like somebody's going up the tree to pick the olives. It really is interesting. Lots of quirky areas. Wherever you go, there's something different to look at. Well, thank you for watching Pots and Trowels, and I hope you've enjoyed the quick tour here of the gardens at Ruella Cottage. Next week we're in another garden. We're going to be at RHS Harlow Carr, so we'll see you then. Bye.